Hello, everyone. This is Tony from Everflow, and we're back with another exciting edition of our Fireside Chats. And today we are going to be talking to Bill Volmuth of PowerCord. How are you doing today, Bill?
Doing great. How are you, Tony?
Not too bad, not too bad. Yes, and so today we're going to be talking about the subject of meeting your customers wherever they are. So essentially, expanding into new channels of business and how to do that properly, and also work with those different types of customers in those different channels. And so, first off, just some questions to kind of get started here. Bill, could you go over kind of what is PowerCord for those who do not know?
Sure. So PowerCord is a marketing technology company that basically works with brands that sell through indirect networks. And those brands usually want to work with their customer journey all the way from creating the demand to converting them into a customer and then having a relationship with them moving forward. And we have a software platform that basically makes that a seamless opportunity for them.
Okay, awesome. And then what types of businesses normally work with PowerCord?
Well, so when I say indirect network, that's any kind of brand like a lawnmower or an outdoor power equipment or a chainsaw that basically works through a network that they don't control. That is an independent network that they have a relationship with. So as an
Would,
example, a lawnmower, a chainsaw, a outdoor power generator, those kind of things.
okay, would it also apply to say like a car dealership or like a real estate local office, something like that?
Yeah, they absolutely have the same model. We find that most of those kind of brands or manufacturers are very specialized, but we have worked with those kind as well, yes.
In terms of if somebody is choosing between you guys in the competition, what would be kind of the main reasons why someone would choose PowerCord?
Yeah, so we have been in the business for 20 years and we have very, very solid experience of kind of working with those channels that you don't have control over. So there's a lot of people that, maybe work with a dealer that it's an independent dealer, but it's the only dealer that that brand works with. We have the ability to work with brands that have maybe 20, 30 different product lines, and we basically keep that brand consistency for those brands all the way down to when that deal is converted.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense because I could see there being a lot of issues with how to coordinate all that. It seems like it's a lot of something, expansion seems like a great idea, but it seemed like there also could be a lot of issues with how you're going to communicate all those things.
Yeah. Well, so I'll give you an example. I mean, if you are, well, we'll make up a brand. If you're a lawnmower brand and you're selling through a dealer that has 4 or 5 other different manufacturers of lawnmowers, how do you create that demand, drive the interest to a customer, and then hand it off to that dealer? But you keep control of that deal. You're paying for the brand, you're paying for the marketing, but you want to work with that dealer and convert it, but want to make sure it doesn't get handed off to another manufacturer in the same dealerships.
Yeah, that could
So
be
our software really keeps that conversation going.
interesting. Yeah, I could see that definitely being an issue. And so, in terms of kind of diving into the main topic of today, um, so there's businesses. Everybody has like business have their own style as far as how they do their performance marketing. So some start out with doing a lot of just paid Google ads. Some people do a lot of paid search. Some people go into affiliate. But because you work with so many different brands and so many different kind of individual brand units, the first question just to ask today and kind of get things started is, when do you think a business should expand into a new performance marketing channel?
When their old one isn't performing well.
Yeah.
Right now there's so many changes going on in the advertising space that you need to first of all have the metrics and the analytics to determine what's working and what's not. So as simple as adding a tracking pixel and determining where that lead goes and whether it converts is number one. But as soon as you see that declining, which we've seen a lot of our customers because of the things with IDFAs and things going on with Apple. How do you go ahead and expand your market and your channel to figure out what's working and what's not?
Do you think that in terms of evaluating, when something is not performing, like, is there a specific amount of time that you'd recommend you would give a channel before you kind of would either want to add a new one or pull the plug on it?
Well, so there's two aspects. There's basically the what's worked in the past. So if you have a track record of a channel that you've been using, let's say paid search, although paid search usually has a tendency to work pretty well. But let's say you're using a social kind of advertising, and last year you had certain numbers, and then those numbers aren't working as much. Then we start exploring why they weren't working. And so we'll do A/B testing, we'll do different messaging, we'll do different, what's going on in the world. Are there certain parameters that are causing it to change? And then we'll go ahead and take a look at what's going on in the other different channel marketings. And that is an ongoing thing in today's world for sure.
I see. So it's a lot of kind of constant sort of evaluation in the whole ecosystem of everything else that's going on.
That's right. That's right. And awesome. You have to remember too that, advertising for the kind of product that we work with is geographic, it's seasonal, and then there's kind of macro conditions that drive it as well. So you're constantly looking at all of those kind of things to say, okay, what's changed that this is causing differences? Over COVID, you had the first year or two with anybody that was at home wanted to buy something to help them improve their house. But then 2 years later, they had supply chain issues and they couldn't get those anymore. And so you had to continually manage that advertisement to make sure that you were meeting the customer and the dealer where they were.
In terms of like choosing a new performance channel, like how would you recommend a business go about that?
Well, so first of all, there's always things that are being improved and changed from a channel perspective, and so there's over the top, there's the streaming services, there's podcasts, there's TikTok, there's social. Social is changing based upon some of the changes that Apple is doing, and so the best way to do anything is to test it. So first off, you have to go and find out that you have a certain demographic and a certain audience. So for example, there's a certain demographic of who's going to use a zero-turn lawnmower or who's going to use a chainsaw. Are those people on certain podcasts? And so you do a bunch of research to determine what the general background is for that channel. And then you build out a campaign and you run a campaign, and then you look at all the variables on that campaign. And so you determine, is there any kind of seasonal things that are going on? For example, there's always a big spring push with a lot of our brands because obviously everybody wants to go out and start their yard work. So, you basically would pick the various channels, you would pick the regions that you're in, and then you would run, A/B testing on all of that to determine what's working and what's not. So test.
Yeah, for sure. And in terms of the tests on a new channel, is there a specific amount of time that when you're launching something, you should give it before you realize it's either going to work or not work?
Yeah, we usually do it for a few weeks, and then we'll come back around and retest it. And we'll do multiple tests. So, if we're trying to explore something new, whether it's a podcast or an over the top channel, or, TikTok's the big one right now, we'll obviously run lots of different campaigns at the same time to verify that they're working. And then, you still have the old standbys with the social and the paid and the affiliates that you're going to work with, as you still have those as well. And then, of course, all the affiliate channels can be different as well, depending on what they are.
Yeah, for sure. And there's also with the affiliate, there's it does shift a lot in terms of, which channels are working better, which promotional methods are working better. It can change extremely quickly, we've seen. So yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And in terms of how things are working at PowerCord, are there any specific channels that you guys are seeing like off the, across the board that are working well, like that have been either new or just your old standbys?
Well, paid search is the standby. If somebody is looking for a lawnmower and they type in lawnmower, that's a pretty good indication that they're in the buying mode. So that's the easiest one, right? But we're seeing a lot of influencer podcast type So there's literally people that have chainsaw podcasts or YouTube channels, those kind of things. So we're seeing a lot of activity from the influencer side on that. And then honestly, TikTok is just kind of going gangbusters, including for influencers right now. So it's not just dance routines. There's a lot of people that are basically using TikTok kind of as an influencer approach as well.
Interesting. And yeah, I've seen those ads and those kind of organic stuff blow up on TikTok. And yeah, it's a definitely an emerging channel. So yeah, it's interesting to see how that goes. In terms of launching a new channel. So say, once the brands are ready to go, they made their decision, they know what they want to do. What kind of challenges do you think that a company can have launching their new channel?
Well, so I think brands, in the past 12 to 18 months, their real challenge has been kind of the changes that have occurred because of the Apple changes. So I'm assuming the audience most likely knows this, but when Apple changed their AT&T and they basically allowed everybody to opt in as opposed to automatically opting in, that changed the whole dynamic on your social advertising. And it also caused lots of different effectiveness changes on advertising as well. And so we saw a lot of people go from kind of this targeted advertising approach to let's go ahead and pivot into a brand approach. So let's go ahead and do brand recognition type approach, and let's see how everything shakes out. And so now you're starting to see people like Facebook coming back with algorithm adjustments so that all of a sudden their social networking or their social advertising rather is getting better. And so now we're starting to go back into Facebook a little bit more than we did as well. And that actually ties in with TikTok as well, right? Because so Facebook was basically kind of audience related from the news feed, but TikTok is algorithm related, right? And so you really want to try on the Facebook side to target your advertising to an audience that wants it specifically because they're either talking about it or they bought it from one of the the kind of the affiliates that Facebook works with. TikTok, you never really know which influencer is going to, like you said, kind of hit that $1 million mark because it catches fire organically. It's really kind of a combination of seeing what's going on in the industry, seeing how the new algorithms are working, seeing how they call it a probabilistic model versus a deterministic model. So in determinism, just like paid search is the ultimate determinism, right? Somebody types in lawnmower, that high probability they are looking for a lawnmower. That's a deterministic ad. If somebody is, I don't know, looking at a TikTok ad, and they're doing a bunch of searches and the algorithm throws a particular ad their way, that's a probabilistic. There's a probability that they will go ahead and look at that based upon the algorithm. And so, it's kind of a blend that you're trying to do the best approach to get that ad in front of as many eyes as possible. It's a really interesting kind of environment to be in right now, for sure.
Yeah, that's a super interesting way to look at it. Like, I think, in terms of the challenges, knowing how the strengths and kind of the setup of all these platforms is huge. Like knowing that, with TikTok, it's going to be something where it's going to be, you would assume these people are going to be into this concept or, could use it, as opposed to like a more intent driven thing with like Google or Facebook or something where you're actually, people are searching for these items and they're being shown. So yeah, that's one thing that I think a lot of businesses would definitely want to know in terms of like how, what, if they're entering a new channel, like how does it work? It's not all the same.
That's exactly right. And listen, at the end of the day, they want their advertising to have a certain return, right? So, cost per click, cost per impression, acquisition costs, all those kind of things need to be calculated. And one of the things that we're constantly trying to do at PowerCord is really go from the very beginning where you create that kind of advertising in the beginning and then roll it all the way through to the conversion. And how do you track that and kind of create the connection points, using machine learning or some kind of artificial intelligence to say, okay, so what were the parameters that actually work? Because, the thing about marketing. What's the old the humorous saying? I know that 50% of my marketing is working. I just don't know which 50%. So you're trying to figure out what's working and what's not working all the way through the channel and through the sale. It's kind of an interesting exercise. That's the holy grail at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, for sure. And that's also where, evaluating what's working and seeing what's working is where solutions like PowerCord and Everflow come in, because it's just that you do so many of these things and they're so unique, and there's a different kind of strategy for each one, but be able to keep track of those results and evaluate what's working is probably almost as important as the ads themselves, knowing what is actually moving the needle versus just, what is bringing you down.
Right. Well, it's really interesting. I mean, if you talk to the old school marketing people, you can, go have a couple of beers with them and get into the conversation with regards to, okay, so, are you ever 100% sure that that particular ad is the reason they purchased something? Or was there 10 things prior to that ad? It's like that. I was listening to one of your podcasts about first attribution versus, fourth or fifth touch. What is that journey that they would just happen to be in a grocery store and they saw an ad and it reminded them to go buy something totally different, right? You're always trying to connect those dots, and you're trying to prove that those dots are working, but you're never 100% sure that that's the journey that they were on.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. It is the following the journey and studying the journey is huge, and that allows you to ensure that the right people are getting credit for their efforts and the right channels are being recognized. And like you mentioned, first touch stuff is we see a lot of that too, especially in the influencer area, because influencers are the ones who are bringing up the products, introducing them. I personally have bought stuff from Instagram, and like just from seeing it and finding it interesting, and from people I follow. So it definitely is, being for them to get credit for what they're doing, and whether it's a coupon code or whether it's just a link to make a purchase is huge. And so that's great that you brought that up. And in terms of expanding on new channels, so say you're like a business with a national your national organization, and you have kind of a bunch of local branches or offices, and you want them to kind of get on the same boat in terms of using a new channel. Like, what kind of challenges do you feel could happen if you're trying to expand like a new initiative to like the local channel level?
Wow, this is a conversation that we could probably talk about for hours unto itself, because the question becomes, is your brand motivation and your dealer motivation the same? So you think they would be, right? I mean, the brand wants to sell their product and the dealer wants to sell the product because they get the margin. But if you look at what's going on in the industry right now, and everything that's happened since COVID, there's all of these different ways that people started really looking at evaluating what they wanted and when they would buy it. And so this is kind of the whole concept of conversational marketing. And there's all of these articles that are being written about how people are purchasing things now versus how they did 15, 20 years ago. So, in the old days, you basically, you created demand through digital marketing or print or whatever. And then you basically would create an MQL, a marketing qualified lead, and then that would be at the top of the funnel, and then you would roll it down to your sales qualified lead, and obviously you would want to set up an appointment and you would try to convert it. That was kind of how it would work for years. And now what they're saying is, most people, especially people that are under 40, do not want to talk to a salesperson, and so so you create this demand. But maybe they want to look at it online and go in a store and touch and feel it and buy it. Maybe they want to go in and touch it and feel it in the store and buy it online. There's all of these different journeys that these people are on. Oh, and by the way, they don't want to wait. When they express an interest for something because they've seen an ad, they want that information within seconds, not within hours. And so the whole point of that brand driving things down to the local level is meeting the customers where they are. And ultimately the brand wants to sell the product, right? They don't want to lose the opportunity to sell that product whenever the customer is ready to buy. What about the dealer? Does the dealer want the brand to sell the product on e-commerce? Do they want to be able to do it online? Well, that's where you get into affiliate modeling. So if some brand sells it online, if it's a customer that's in a dealer's territory, do you give them an affiliate percentage? Oh, and by the way, if you give them an affiliate percentage, then you pass on all the information so that they can maintain it. You can develop a relationship through the dealer, and you have that local touch point. That's really what the Power Chord system is trying to do. It's trying to help the brand obviously create that conversation. It's trying to sell the product whichever way the customer wants to buy that product. But then we also want to make sure that that local touch point is available so that that person that buys it, the end user, develops the relationship with the dealer, and that brand has the relationship ongoing and the dealer has the relationship ongoing. So that was a very long-winded way to try to answer your question, which is your local dealer really wants to build a relationship so that they buy lots of different stuff at the dealer level. The brand wants to develop a relationship and convert so that they'll buy more of the brand. They're not mutually exclusive, although sometimes brands and dealers think they are.
Yeah, that's super interesting. It seems like, and we see this a lot with our clients in terms of like, these things are all easy to execute, but you definitely need a strategy. And it seems like that Power Chord kind of has that, built in, where basically you can coordinate all these things, which could, you could run into issues later on. I could see like a local dealership, you bring in a lead in a local dealership. It's they're great. They're somebody who's right near customers, right near the dealership, or their customers right near the office, and they're in there. They might do stuff with them later on and really get involved with the brand or the local dealership. Or it might be something where somebody is just they don't really care about that. Maybe they're just somebody who just needs something and they get it and that's it, and there's not like a kind of personal connection needed. So there's all these kind of different cases. And so yeah, kind of marking down how you want to coordinate all that, I think is huge. And in terms of so say you have a new channel you're launching, and on these local kind of levels, and say you have that new channel, is there a specific way that you'd recommend that like the main kind of brand communicates that to all the local branches, like maybe like strategy or best practices or anything like that?
Yeah, so whenever we do these localized, so we basically do localized landing pages where they'll basically have a digital marketing campaign. We'll drive that to a kind of a local landing page, and that local landing page will have a locator of some kind if they don't already have already a connection on their website with regards to that they've used somebody before. And then as soon as that happens, then we can go ahead and we can create a kind of customized landing page for that particular user. So I'll give you an example. In the Pacific Northwest, their needs for chainsaws is different than if you have a chainsaw need in Florida. They have different extenders, they have different size. I mean, they just, the trees are different, right? If we are trying to do localized advertising, we are going to basically change the landing page depending upon the region, and then we're going to immediately try to connect that to a local dealer based upon whether they've ever done a search or whether they looked at that dealer before, or we will connect them to a dealer based upon a locator. And so the whole point is, the old saying, everything is local. We are trying to drive down to a local level what their needs will be. And that is completely different based upon the brand, no matter what it is, whether it's a generator or whether it's a lawnmower, whether it's a chainsaw. That's different. The United States is a very big country. We also have European customers, and they're all different. And we're trying to make sure that we're answering the needs of the customers wherever they are. So those channels also may change depending upon the region as well. So it's kind of a very interesting, complex equation.
Yeah, it's kind of something that I think is lost on today's like purchases that a lot of people do online. Like, for example, the Amazons of purchases. You're buying stuff, you got a need for it, you buy it, but there's no, not taken in consideration is the environment you're at, is the city you're at, the local area. Like, I mean, maybe that I could see that sometimes with like, automobile marketing, things like that, but I don't see it too often. And most of the time I see and when I make purchases, it seems like it's just on from a company that's far away and just a national or international company. There's no kind of local tailoring, which I think is a nice way to bridge the gap between having like in-person sales and the online sales.
Yeah, and listen, I think that's the age-old question to some degree with Amazon. I mean, Amazon is the golden standard with regards to buying something and getting quickly, right? I mean, it's incredible. So if I want printer cartridges, the chances are I am not going to go into a store to buy printer cartridges. I'm going to most likely order them online. But my favorite story, and it's actually real, is we decided that we needed to buy hedge clippers because we had a 15-foot hedge in our backyard. And in our infinite wisdom, we thought we could do that ourselves. And so my wife and I, mostly my wife, started researching online the various hedge clippers. And lo and behold, steel hedge clippers got the best reviews. So we basically went online and we looked at where we could buy those. There was a local Ace dealer. And my wife, who's rather petite, was like, I probably need to lift this thing up and see if I could actually do it. And so we went into the store, and they were a full service steel dealer. And the salesperson, looked at the three models, had her hold them, and she was like, "Yeah, I think this weight is good." And he basically said, "Come on back." And he literally went in the back of the Ace dealer and let her clip hedges. So here we are. She's testing the weight. She's looking at it, and she was like, "I'm sold." And so he immediately goes in. And he brings us to the service dealer, who basically, I guess, owns 10 different steel products, and tells us if you maintain these last forever, and has us buy oil so that we get an extended warranty. There's all of these things, and we walk out happy as we could ever be because we've got this great hedge clipper. We spent a ton of money, and we go back and we try it, and we're completely happy. You're never going to get that experience at a Amazon. Quite frankly, you're probably never going to get that experience at a big box like a Lowe's or a Home Depot. So those are the kind of products that we really think you can use PowerCord to help develop that relationship and get them down to somebody that's going to help them and really meet their problem set.
Yeah, and I think that's a fantastic story. By the way, I've never heard of something like that occurring. So that's I would probably be the same boat. I could be like, okay, if I can use this thing, because I'm terrible with tools. If I could do it myself, then this is the greatest. And I would feel definitely empowered to go out and do some hedge clipping. So that's great. You don't see that kind of stuff often, and I think that is what's missing a lot of time in a lot of times in the world of all these larger stores, is that you don't get that personalized experience. And in the end, I think you maybe agree with this, is that in the end, getting somebody to understand how something works, use it, test it, that's how you develop maybe a longer term customer.
That's right. Well, and it's very interesting. So you've probably been following all this Chat GPT stuff, right? And so we're very excited about Chat GPT, probably for a different reason than a lot of the other people are. But I think that the potential for Chat GPT with the PowerCord platform is you can take the data set and make it specific for a particular brand, and then it can learn based upon the questions it's getting what works in certain regions and what works for certain customers, and actually offer up kind of a quick way for them to help solve their problem. But I was at a distributor for one of our customers in Ohio a couple of weeks ago, and they were incredibly excited because they were thinking that it could be like a YouTube on steroids. And so let's say you've got Chat GPT and you dump every single spec for the equipment in Chat GPT, and the do-it-yourselfers of the world, want to go ahead and swap out a blade or whatever. You can literally have the Chat GPT work with them, start showing them the right videos based upon the right questions, and all of a sudden it's like this tailor-made solution for these customers. Well, guess what? That's brand loyalty like you're never going to get if you have that kind of relationship with your brands. Oh
no, go ahead. Sorry.
So I think that there's always going to be consumer type products. I mean, I'm pretty sure that I'm always going to either buy printer cartridges or tooth floss from a Walmart or a, or an Amazon, right? But there's a tremendous amount of products. As a matter of fact, billions of dollars worth of product is sold that's too complicated to basically sell without some kind of research, some kind of understanding, and maybe just some kind of usage check. And that's where we're really looking to use the PowerCore platform to help these brands with.
Yeah, that's a super interesting tie in there, and I think that you also don't get that with even a lot of these services online too. Give you an option. They'll say, try it before you buy it, that sort of thing. But there's no, instructions on how to use it. It could not, either work properly, fit properly. There's no. Then you have to go and get assistance with it. So there's no kind of the whole in-store experience or the whole local experience is still like a huge part to everything.
Right. And listen, I think that, there's always going to be aftermarket product. There's always going to be some set of product that you can probably buy online and maybe use YouTube videos or ChatGPT combinating with, some kind of videos. But there's also going to be, products that, just as an example, one of our customers is a home generator company. You need to size that thing. You need to research it. You need to understand exactly what is required for that to fit your home. And at the end of the day, you probably want to go and talk to someone before you do that. And that's kind of a perfect product for what we do.
Awesome. And in terms of, so kind of going back to the theme of working with having a central brand and working with different offices and dealerships, things like that. So say you have a new channel launched and it's being tested out. Are there certain ways that you should either work with the dealerships to kind of communicate those results, or are there certain kind of metrics that you want to consider in evaluating on a dealership by dealership basis?
Yeah, that's strictly product dependent to a large degree. And every relationship with dealers is different. And I think that the key to all of that is, the brand needs to understand the dealer's desires and metrics that they really are performing against. And, quite frankly, the dealers need to understand what are the metrics that the brand is competing against. And a lot of the channel activity that we do, it's all about, okay, so how do you create that kind of journey in that relationship so that they're getting a good quality person down to the local level. I mean, nobody wants to spend money on any kind of marketing or digital marketing that is not effective. And so, we basically are constantly collecting data, analyzing the data, and trying to look for those missing pieces. And, the buzzword is, large language models or machine learning. But at the end of the day, it's just math, trying to figure out what is working and what's not working. And are there things that the human eye is missing, be it, economic headwinds or regional locations that are different, or, even the weather to some degree. We're constantly trying to evaluate that, look at it from the brand marketing campaigns, and then driving that down to the dealer and kind of offering suggestions to them from a lead perspective to show them what works and what not works. Because, dealers at the end of the day, a lot of these guys are mom and pop shops. And, when they invest in a co-op marketing program or something like that, they want validation that it's actually doing something. And so, the key for us is to really, use those KPIs, those metrics, to try to drive that down to the local level and prove that it's working. And, sometimes that's hard. Did the Ace dealer know that actually the Ace dealer did, because I told them, but how many Ace dealers know that the person that walked in their store walked in the store because they saw this ad from this brand, and this is why they're here, because they've seen 3 or 4 different, attribution points that got them there. And that's the key.
Yeah. And it's definitely a lot more advanced than the old model where just when you're going to make a purchase, they said, how did you hear about us? Like, it's
right.
definitely more than that.
Newspaper, radio, TV. Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah. I always see those. I still see those still, and it's like, they're not I'm sure most people are just filling out the first thing they see just to get it done. In terms of, so say you do have, the channels are working and you distributed them out to all the different dealerships, things are going well. Is there any way that you can kind of communicate, or that you guys have seen the good ways to communicate, like optimization areas? Like, do you ever go and say, hey, this is working for dealership XXX in this area, you should try that? Like, is there a way to kind of communicate best practices?
Oh, absolutely. So almost all of our brands have a what we call a quantifiable report, where we basically are taking all the data and we're collecting that data, and then we are presenting that back and saying, this seemed to have success due to these parameters in this area. This seemed to have success in that area. And so, yeah, we're continually doing that. And one thing I didn't mention, which we're also trying to do is, we're connected into the product registration a portion of the sale, so that once there's a sale that's done, we collect that data, and that begins the relationship with the email campaigns and the nurturing and the ongoing relationship with that customer. And that's really where you can start to see the value in connecting the dots, right? Because it's a whole lot easier and cheaper to keep customers than it is to try to convert them into a customer. So we've got the quantifiable reports where we're constantly evaluating, reporting back to the brands, who are then presenting that information to their local dealers or their local distributors. And then we have that, let's go ahead as soon as they're converted, begin that relationship by doing emails and nurturing and what have you.
Okay, so there's a lot of just kind of ongoing feedback that on the local level, basically.
Absolutely, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think that's very interesting, because you're covering the kind of the reasons why things are working, and we're big believers in that too. Like, we actually have reporting types that will show you, like, what specific placements are effective versus, like, let's say you're doing a Facebook campaign, like which ads are doing well, or which publishers, which ads they're running, which are doing well. So yeah, there's a lot of getting down to show the whys, I think, is huge. And so that's great that you covered that. And in terms of getting rid of a channel, like, are there any strategies that you recommend for brands when they want to either cut a new channel, or cut a new channel, or basically kind of
Yeah, I wouldn't say we
get more
ever,
business for it?
yeah, we very rarely like cut channels. We'll reduce the spends, for some period of time until we figure out exactly why all of a sudden they're not working. I mean, so basically, we're constantly going out, we're testing channels, we're validating what's working, and then we're validating what's not working. If something all of a sudden stops working, obviously, if we're driving it down to the local level, if it's a complete national drop, that's a separate discussion. Okay, so what's going on in the market and what's going on in the industry or the economic headwinds that's causing that. But if it's local, and all of our stuff usually ends up having more of this than the other, what's the local parameters that's causing that? And then we'll pull back on that, and we'll temporarily move our ad spend somewhere else. But I can't say that we've ever like completely dropped a channel. It's just more of a, these are the, you've got your arrows in your quiver, and you're trying to figure out what's working and what's not working. But we're always kind of experimenting with that. I did want to, I know that I'm not supposed to ask questions, but you and you were on my podcast a little while ago, and we were talking about kind of your stuff. How do you tie in affiliate marketing from an advertising perspective, kind of how we've been talking about what we do from an indirect? Do you do similar things for affiliate marketing campaigns?
Yeah, so like what we do is that with our platform, you can track basically all of your performance marketing, and so that includes your affiliate marketing as well. And so what we do for our clients is basically they're able to kind of launch all these campaigns and then monitor them in one dashboard. And
Mm.
so that also includes affiliate. And so with affiliate, it's very interesting because we can allow them to basically create their own campaigns. They can essentially track the performance, and they can also track down to like these really kind of smaller levels, so like more granular type stuff. So you can, like I mentioned, you can track like, okay, affiliate XXX is running this type of offer that we have, and they're doing it on this channel and that's working, or they're this affiliate is bringing in traffic that's not working from a specific country or a specific by specific promotion style. So we can actually, like, for our clients, they're able to break down exactly like how performance is happening. And so that's something that most tracking platforms can't do. They basically are just like, here's the clicks and that's it, and here are the conversions, that's it. And so we allow you to kind of dive as deep as you want into these things. And so the affiliate channels grow really fast with our clients because they're able to see, okay, who's working, like what type of what's working, what type of affiliate is doing well, like what style are they doing, how that's working. Even looking at the specific ads, like which ad is doing well, they can kind of replicate that too as well. So there's a ton of different kind of options that they have to see and make changes. So that kind of ties into, also, we do cover things like paid search as well. So like, if a company could be doing affiliate, and they could also be like, what, hey, I'm doing affiliate, but my paid search, my internal stuff is working well too. So, maybe I'll ramp up my spend on that and maybe give a little less to affiliate, or maybe my email marketing is working well, and so I'll ramp up on that. So it's kind of all about putting in perspective,
Yeah.
which I think is sort of similar to, in terms of what you guys do, as far as like a brand will figure out like the pieces of how all these things work together and kind of manage, which ones are working.
Now, I'm curious. We do a lot of co-op relationships, right? So the brands will have co-op dollars, and they basically just plug our system into that. Do you see that a lot on your end too, where there's like co-op dollars, or do you not go through, kind of these dealer type networks?
We do, and it's I personally don't see that side of it, but we do have it. Like, for example, there was a client we had. It's Harley Davidson has an e-bike. It's called Serial One, and so what
Yeah.
happened there is that they actually had like QR codes in dealerships where people would scan those codes, and then that will get credit to that local dealer. And so we do have that sort of thing. It does happen, and it's very possible. But I personally don't get into it. But I know that one thing that we do have, which makes it nice, is that a dealership or something on the local level can get their own login, so they can actually monitor things as they're happening. So they can monitor, like, how many sales are we bringing in from affiliate? How are we doing on this? And so they can actually check that out, which is huge too, because you're able to kind of stay involved, and then that also might kind of allow you to kind of give feedback to the main kind of headquarters, saying, hey, these campaigns are working or they're not working, and things like that.
Yeah, one of the things that we've discovered on the dealer side is you've got to keep that stuff pretty simple for them. Text based, email based.
Yep.
Responding right from your phone, because they don't want to log in anything
Yep.
to find out anything. So that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. And that's interesting you mentioned that, because we do have it where, like, what we like to do is you can actually customize your dashboard however you want. So you can have, like, if somebody, say, is new and they're like, they're not too tech savvy, you could just have like their login. Once they log in, their main homepage could just be like just one single report, or could just be like one specific number they care about. Like, and you can also limit like what they see in terms of like navigation, things like that. So yeah, it's definitely you want to tailor the reporting and stuff to meet the needs of the
Yeah.
person that's receiving it. And that's huge that you mentioned that too.
Yeah, yeah, very interesting. Well, and it's very, talking about, living in interesting times. I mean, you have all of these dealer networks, and there's thousands and thousands of them. And a lot of them, like I said, are mom and pop shop. And some of them, if you go in and you say, hey, what's your point of sale system? They'll say, well, it's this pen and paper. And it's they're living 30 years ago, and they're doing a nice job making a living. But a lot of them are family businesses, and their kids are coming in now, and they're all of a sudden coming in and saying, so we need to go ahead and improve our website. We need to do ads. We need to have a point of sale system. We need to track inventory. We need to do marketing. We need to have a relationship with a brand. So you kind of have this transition going on now, where there's a large subset of these dealers that are kind of going to the next level and doing this technology. So I think there's a lot of opportunity in that space for companies like us, like
Yeah,
ours.
no, it's very interesting. it's a definite shift in where all that's going. And then also too, you with the economy and things happening, that's where kind of where identifying the effective performance marketing channels are huge too, because
Yeah.
a lot of these channels you're not paying until results happen. So, knowing what's working and taking a chance on some of those channels, like we have businesses that all the time are like, this is their first affiliate program they've done. And it works out really well because they can actually, they can actually scale and measure what they do and build up to it, as opposed to like saying, hey, here's a bunch of money for paid search and, whatever happens, or like a billboard or something. Yeah, you're able to kind of control the cost a lot better.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing, just another component of the power cord system that we're seeing a very strong interest in is, I mentioned e-commerce, and, everybody was all hot and heavy about e-commerce when, everybody was in their houses all the time. And, now we're starting to see kind of a mixture of people, still using e-commerce, but not so much. And so, now we're starting to see the dealers adding in layers like maybe, deliver to home from store, where maybe they can't get I guess they're not going to buy a zero turn lawnmower for $20,000 on Amazon, but maybe they'll buy from the local dealer, and then there's the ability to ship it or deliver it to the home, and then they can test it, and then they can get that touch that they wanted to show how it works and what have you. So we're seeing a lot of that with a lot of our brands as well.
Yeah, like a hybrid type way of doing things. And
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, no, it's very interesting to see how all that's shifting. Well, I think unfortunately, where our time is getting close to the end here. But before we go, just wanted to give you a chance to kind of chat a little bit more about Power Chord. So, for someone who wants to learn more about Power Chord, what would you recommend just going to your site?
Yep, powerchord.com, POWERCHORD. And if you just are interested in any kind of marketing type activity that involves trying to touch base with your customer no matter where they are. So creating the demand, working with the brand. We obviously deal mostly with indirect networks. So if you have an independent network that you work through, we'd love to talk to you. And our whole modus operandi is we want to make sure that no matter where your customer is, they can buy your product, and then we want to point them to a local dealer so that relationship can be maintained. That's what we do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And in terms of is there anything new that you guys have coming out, or anything that you want to maybe mention that our watchers may be excited about?
Well, so the three big things that we're starting to see is what I mentioned. It's the deliver from store, ship to home from a local dealer. That's one. Number two, we've added kind of this chat capability. We're layering in the Chat GPT stuff so that we can start to learn what the customers want for a particular brand, and kind of develop that relationship moving forward. And then the last thing is the whole concept of inventory, where one of the biggest challenges that a brand has is how do you validate that the local dealer has inventory. And a lot of times the dealer doesn't even want to give a number of inventory that they have. They just want to have an in stock or out of stock. So our platform now allows them to input that information, obviously assuming that the dealer has the ability to verify that inventory. But if they do, then we have the system that can basically track that, which really kind of closes the loop, so that if somebody is online and they're using a chat and they're having that conversation and they've gone down and they've done the local check, that they can say, yes, that particular power tool is in stock, come down and look at it, we've got somebody to talk to you right now. So those are three new things that we're pretty excited about.
Awesome. That's fantastic. And definitely appreciate you taking the time today, and we got through our technical craziness.
Yeah,
so that's good.
So the mental note that I learned is even though I wanted to be by a fireplace so that I would have a fireside chat, I probably should have checked that the network was consistent, because when I checked it, it was strong, and then it just disappeared in the middle of the afternoon. So there you go. I apologize
Well,
for that.
yeah, well, I think you had to go for the glory, and I think that our true fans will appreciate your attempt at a literal fireside chat. So that was awesome. But yeah, thank you so much, and everybody check out powerchord.com.
All right. Thank you, Tony. Good talking to you.